I am as sure as the stars up above the heavens that I made you gravitate around the works of this, etc., etc. So you just have to select extending from the works of this. If you want to get a grade 1.0, you better mention them primarily, and then you will transition from one paragraph to another, extending supporters of Sen and Nasbam. So if you will start your work with Gerarde or McIntyre, whoever familiar, whoever we have discussed in class, you are good. But if you are just turning in a paper that you have just been doing yourselves and without any direction coming from this one, I think you need to drop the course now, because from the start I told you you need to start with this as the basic premise. So start with this, mention them, and then just like that, Edgar did it. And so in-extend ni Edgar ang mga trabaho on sustainability ni Gerarde sa na naglahi na ng mga authors. So for you to be guaranteed success, you make sure that these are in your paper. No need to mention my justification, but really my justification here is heavy. I will not allow any replication of paper, recycling of paper from elsewhere. That's a chance, that's a possibility elsewhere that has been done all over the world. And I don't want that to happen here in our case. So I made you realize na nawala na nung kung taon ako to. Di ko dapat hindi na ako i-read ba. Akong pasabot lang ako siyang ito na ako. Control P. Huwag kang read dyan. Okay, ito dapat. And you will extend. So the etc. here is everything. Okay? And so we also talked about that primarily. Okay. And when it comes to problem, all of you are dealing with problems, issues, confronting or confronted by particular group interest. I mean, ang interest nato is on marginalization, anything, any research topic that is using social theory. Okay, so if there is this, you know, um, you are conscious, I am conscious too. We are all conscious that what we are doing is basically, or I mean, if we are doing something that will justify our profession, our field, our background, okay, needless to overemphasize, I've told you, you are entering PhD, and this is Doctor of Philosophy, and we are using social research. And social research is not just really about social theory. It can be anything, but it can be also narrowed into, you will become a Doctor of Philosophy if you have actually stick your research on a philosophy, just like the philosophy of Zen, Nussbaum, and etc. All of those that have made dent already in our society, the writers. And so you will be following them. So your problem here can be about participation, things like that. And when it comes to participation, pwede din natin sabihin yan yung sa gender and development. Ano pa bang mga studies nga natin dito ngayon? Ano pang mga pinagagawa ninyo? Meron din si Brian, ano nga ang study mo, Brian? It's the use of use of indigenous
Sinugbuan ng binisaya pa, Doc.
Use of indigenous kuan siya, lingua franca.
Apa,
First language first language na lang para mas dali. Ang first language yun nila, mother tongue. What na term dapat, use of mother tongue. And etc. and etc. So here, these are not really problems to you, but you need to transform this, just like participation. It can be like a problem of participation of women and men, and you wanted to know whether they have equal. There is gender equality in terms of their participation. Just like what Joanne is trying to interrogate right now, looking at experiences of women, the way they navigated, negotiated in the area of environmental, restoration. Ano nga tawag doon exactly, Jo? Ano yung operational doon na term mo?
Reforestation po, sir.
reforestation, sorry. So in that reforestation project, whose voice prevailed? And so Joanne, I think now is ready to really justify, even if majority our thinking is that everyone has a voice, but since qualitative research, again, please don't forget, since qualitative research will even justify, if it can justify the majority, it will definitely champion the interest of the majority. But in as much as we champion the majority, we would rather focus on the minority report, because minority is like now being marginalized, of course, because they are minority and they have simply been forgotten. Now, in your family, if you have, I'm just drawing in my mind right now a metaphor, and I hope this will not happen to you. If, let's say, in your family, naamoy anak na nanginahanglan o tabang, nanginahanglan tabang, kaya siya special need, for example. Mao na siya ang minority report. Isibot pasabot ana. Ang pamilya ba, magiging family pa din? Kung biyaan lang nimo tong anak na nanginahanglan og tabang? I don't think so. Kailangan niyang tabang, so kaya dapat si pamilya magiging different family pud siya. That's why napoy gwapo nga studies na about families, how families are drawn and redrawn with these particular challenges that they have been experiencing as families. I'm not just really referring to any of the brood or any of those that they are able to produce in the family. But I'm referring to any single issue which of us can be exposed to, even our respective organizations. Now, if we have a problem employee, and just because he is a problem employee, would we rather go to the policy right there and then and let him succumb to, you know, the end part of the policy and make him live? If that is really your consciousness, then you are not qualitative experts. You are not qualitative thinkers, because qualitative research will allow us to look into the nitty gritty, the uniqueness of the reasons of these individuals, because they are marginalized and silenced of their stories. We would like to take them on board and listen. That's why case studies are our craft. We can even write a report just on the basis of that single person. Okay, so, but please don't forget, we are not generalizing here. Our strategy is not generalizing our goal in doing qualitative research. We can generalize from instances of small stories. And then because these small stories can then therefore form part of the generalization of the small stories. Let us not forget that. Meaning to say, our generalization is on a generalization on a small story, on a smaller scale, not on a large scale. But before they know it, before you know it, you are generalizing the world. That to live and to be confronted with these particular sets of problems and circumstances, especially if you will be integrating intersectionality, then ito ang mangyayari. Ito yung kung babae ka, pobre ka, tapos jobless ka, ito yung mangyayari. Magiging prostituted person ka. If that is part of your analysis in the way we look at it, because nobody really ever dared dip their finger into this particular study, even prostitution, for God's sake, it's being understudied, and if it's being studied, it's being done with quantitative studies. And then quantitative studies in the prostitution area now is really looking at how many times you have sex, how much money you gain, as if it is really just the name of the game in prostitution, for God's sake. So mahiya tayo sa skins natin. Yun yung nangyayari sa atin. And if at this particular moment you still do not, I mean, you are not doing this way, ito perhaps will really help you. So these are problems, and your objective here is to, let's say, sample nito is to describe, syempre, kailangan nating maging, ano lang tawag yan, neutral. Kahit na problem siya, pero neutral lang. To describe the uh, level of participation of uh, parents. Kenneth, are you here, Kenneth? Si Kenneth is doing something, a study involving PTCA tapos Brigada Eskwela. Tama, Kenneth?
Yes, Doc.
So to
Morning.
describe the level of participation, hello, sorry.
Yes, po. Confirm. Yes, po.
Okay, so to describe the level of participation of parents in PTCA, you may decide Brigada Eskwela. Parang ang Brigada Eskwela ba, Kenneth, is like really the PTCA na? Parang gano'n, no? The new name?
Basically, yes po. Lahat ng stakeholders natin.
Oo, akala ko nga itong Brigada Eskwela is pagsugod lang sa klase, mabibo, dili man di ay. All throughout na man di siya.
It's a
Tama ba, Ed?
year-round implementation po. Year-round
O year
implementation.
round siya, no? Okay, so please, kana, okay. And the next about that one is to identify issues uh, of the different PTCA stakeholders. To identify issues of the different PTA stakeholders. I'm referring to issues, Brigada Eskwela ang platform dito, Kenneth, to identify issues of the different PTCA stakeholders in their participation in the same. Okay, so even with these two objectives, you are done. Okay na tayo kasi ang number one naman natin, yun yung sabi nating descriptive dito, di ba? Class, can you say yes? Itong descriptive is referring to gender nila, di ba?
Profile.
Oh, yan, descriptive part yan. And then, let us drop the myths. Ito talaga hindi part ng qualitative research. Sekreto ko lang din ito nilagay dyan kaya I wanted you to really, draw the line. In-Englishan ninyo, giunsan ninyo pagkuha inyong mga participants. Muna akong gusto may tabo diha. And then, but at any given time, if we are publishing the paper together in tandem, if we are ready, we are deleting this part and we will delete this part too in the objective and then also in the result section. And never that this will come out in the conclusion part and that you will recommend based on the descriptive part. No, you are not. You will recommend your data would come from here. Okay. Now, in a few words, ito, dapat ready na ito si Kenneth na bilang researcher. Ang data nito dito pag transfer sa result section, di ba? Emrad ang gamit natin, class?
Yes, Doc.
Emrad. Yeah, problema nito. So ito part ng introduction ito dito lahat. No? Part ng intro ito. So dapat kani mao ni siya ang title dinhi or subtitle dapat dinhi sa kani nga part. Ayaw ko papangitaan ninyo og bisag unsa na lang nya gisulat ko ninyo bisag unsa dili related dito sa inyong gisulting objectives. Okay? So level of participation of parents in PTCA kani pwede pa ni ma-edit nang kani confused ko diri ani Kenneth kamo na ba ikaw na bala ani please. Okay. And so based on this you will provide an intro and then you will present the data. Present the data. And then here is later na naunya mga sample data ani nga para ma-close nato ni siya. Intro, i-introduce nimo what is this part in the paper and then present the data and the interpretation. So dapat i-present the data interpretation na ni. Present the data interpretation. And later the table. Guess na ni class, dapat ang table is below siya sa interpretation. And then sa pag-present ninyo ani napon mo isulti ani mag-transition mo shown in table 3 or table 2 is the blah blah blah. Kani diri nga kwan frequency ni siya dapat. Unsa ni siya qualitative man nga data, so dapat naka-organize ni nanay column, na codes, na nodes. Katong gistoryahan last week. Mo ni dapat pero i-revisit ng gyapon nato. May goodness and time. And in the same manner, ato ni siyang inunbold na to ni gamayan ni kay total guide lang mana and at 1 2. Plus, are you able to follow with this one, with this discussion? Because my hate, really, I hate students, I hate writers when they are just committed, supposed to be presenting this, but they have presented another thing. They have presented another thing, and so this one here has to be transferred here again, and you will just say issues, and you are forced to go to say it, issues of the different PTSA stakeholders in their participation in blah blah blah. Do you have any question, class? Is this really what you are doing? This one I have shown you here. Is this now clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Madungog na.
Okay. Now, let's have a look. Because your data here, again, your method, we need to also talk about here. For this, on number 2, your method will be quali. And via interviews, FGD, and key informant. And then, but if you only have one, that's fine. But you have to justify that you have the FGD and the key informant as your source. Okay, let's talk about this. Who will be your participants? So kasi method and tools ito. Dapat kuan dito ang facts. Sino sila? So dapat diri maguna gyud parents ang inyong interviewon because they should center and revolve around parents. Why? Again, the justification is that study the most important, the most strategic. Teachers aren't strategic here. Teachers, when it comes to, let's say, social science research, are no longer important. But if this is really about teaching effectiveness, then they are the most important. But here, obvious kayo na si parents ang pinaka-importante. So kaya, parents, pila ka book imong quota, isulti ninyo dapat dire. So nakayon tayo kay 5, okay ra na. And then, teachers and admin, napog kay mga duha lang or tulo, pwede na, happy na. And then, community leaders. Now, kung mingon ka, ano mo interview man ko community, wala man sa ilabot diha. May tabo raman ang brigada eskwela na ako wala. Na aning, manaaman sila nga taga-community o wala. And so that's why really, that's the problem because we are talking about sense of community. We're trying to imbibe spirit of, let's say, communal spirit. Kani, communal spirit may is, kung kay Robert Putnam ni nga theory mo man ang social capital, we're developing the social capital. And so we need not forget there are sectors in our society that are untapped. But they know and we know that they're supposed to be there. So it doesn't mean that you are not fully integrating them now that they cannot be integrated. The condition is that they needed to be integrated. That's the alternative thinking. That's the product of a research. And so you need to enter into conversations what really prevents them from entering the platform. So if they will tell you they are busy, no. Here is the way you will be investigating their problem. So their problem should be investigated, especially pertaining to how to investigate their problems, how to investigate their problems. Okay, so problems. So you better make sure that the problems are of social nature, of economic nature, of political nature, and maybe environmental nature, who knows? It depends on you what type of a theory you will be integrating to really form part of this whole project. Alam, sa napindot, patay. Okay. And so meaning to say, your question will revolve not just how to investigate problems. It will not just really talk about kay ang kalainan sa research o pakipagchismis. Kung machismis ka, mayo lang kang problema. Ano sa di problema? Kanya, labi na gyud ang problema ni kung wa ka nito nga nadyo problema. Okay, perfect naman. Ang problema is problema kung the way kita nga mga kuan, kung dili ta researcher, kung mag-investiga tag problema, syempre kung dili problema sa ato kay walay sakit, so di gyud siya problema. Pero ang research is bisan pag wala siya sakit, bisag wala di ay nakita ang problema, pero kung mangutana ka, kunya the way nga mag-philosophize ka og sa pagpangutana nimo, mangutana ka such aspects of whether they are able to participate and what makes them not participate, this is really a good avenue for us to really be surfacing, floating, unfolding stories that they are not prepared to really just share to the entire community because they are just simply in the community. They are just focusing in their own zones, in their own respective, ways and manners. So sa social, ano mga important question dito? Siyempre na kay mga preliminary questions, blah blah blah, to make, to appear friendly, and of course you really have to imbibe that friendly spirit between you and the one you are interviewing. Present yourself, what's the purpose of the study, and basically you will be sharing the purpose of the study. The objectives of the study is of course to describe and identify issues, blah blah blah. And then here I am, please let me start. I wanted to know if you are able to really enter the Brigada Escuela. All their activities, are you able to attend? Have you been communicated? And are you happy attending this? And I'm sure there will be those that will tell you they are not happy, and even if they are happy but they cannot just really allot their time, that's fine. But you need to push the throttle. Ikambyada nimo siya para mudagan pa gyud siya. Unsa pa kaya dito sa part sa Brigada Eskwela dapat apilan nila? Let's say planning. So importante ang planning, di ba? Planning for the whole year, what's going to be implemented. And all those other initiatives, whether they are able to voice out what they wanted. Now, look, these stories can be now mirroring on them if they are really, if they are really able, in fact, able to participate. Then they will tell you, they will realize kasi, they will tell you, I'm not able to participate because I don't think I'm ready. I am not a talking person and I am just achieving this level of education and I hate myself being ridiculed and I am ashamed. Plus, we have a case, highlight that story because that is theoretically resonant. Nabulo na nung ko. That's chambers, right? When people are, aloof and etc. Ano yung sa deprivation trap? Dapat ma-analyze ito using chambers deprivation trap. Huwag na kayong para mapadali na ito itong trabaho, i-discuss siya through deprivation trap. Trap of chambers. Okay. So, unsa to? Siyempre diri mugawa sa economic diri, mas priority magud namo sir ang mangitag mangitag kwarta, mangita og siyempre pagkaon para sa po ang mga anak, etc. etc. Tama ba na o mali? Tama na siya. So kaya bubutang na siya diha tanan. And environment, di na kayo ni, depende ni sa uban lang nimo gawas. Ang uban pod kultura, pwede kung indigenous siya or unsa ba nasa sa Christian mainstream na society, dili kay ba sila mugawas unsa experience ninyo, so depende kung unsa ang extent upon which they are able to. So therefore class, if we now have the parallelism from these objectives here as problem, and then the tools, this is the sampling here, and then in the analysis you will say in the method, this is method part, talk about how you will analyze the data. You will use manual coding use Airback references. You can search this Air spelling niya, bahala na mo da. Yata na. And Silverstein. Pasensya na gimos kong spelling capability class. I forgot the year, and so that's it. But this can be found. Of course, you can Google this one. I'm sure this will come out in the Google, or you can search this from my material, the Gascon and McIntyre Mills. Okay, let's talk about the quali quanti. This is just the quali here, right? Obviously, this is quali. Let's refer now, and this is going to be part of the last things we are going to discuss. I will upload the material for the data analysis. The quanti part here describe the level of participation. So therefore, when it comes to participation, think about participation in what? Do simple quanti, but I think Jonathan will have an alternative how to make a quanti here. Jonathan, please study, make a rethinking, and then contribute something. Maybe not now, but perhaps just privately to me, PM me how we can integrate a quanti. But what I always do when it comes to like a paper like this and to be presented as something that will add up to the body of knowledge, and this is going to be monumental to you because to most of you this is going to be your first, and so we rather would simplify, even if this is not my first among the many things I've done in the past, but I'm just really doing this quite frankly because I wanted to communicate results in a way that my audience will automatically adapt to the result. They will not make serious rethinking of whether I am correct, whether I'm not supposed to be believe in what I have presented to them as data. So for this particular instance, one T here can be a survey data. So a survey data on participation. And it's the level, right? On the level of participation. On the level of participation. Okay. Class, when it comes to participation, you need to be remembering things here that when it comes to participation, tapos political participation, community participation, aren't we talking about planning? Please don't forget. And aren't we also talking about planning? Then there's going to be this after the planning, there's going to be implementation, right? So ito, magiging resounding ba ito? Magiging resonant ba ito? Sa study ni John, I'm sure this is. And to most of you, kasi you deal participation, kasi ito, participation theories man ito lahat dito. Well, of course, Girardet is not really into it. It's more of the regenerative development. But even so, Girardet here is like a democratic regenerative development. That the more people will be involved in the analysis, the more people we can develop their consciousness in terms of how to make regenerative future, how to make use of these resources that we are responsible of for the future. So, participation pa rin siya. Planning, implementation, anong sunod class? M and E. Oh, so, in this respect, ito yung dapat hanapan natin ng ano. Ito, meron yata akong nakita dito. And this is the material, the Gascon McIntyre Mills, Control F. Ito yung lagi kong sinasabi na hanapin nyo lang dito. Participation, may participation table dito. Nakita, sino nakita, Jo? Nakita mo, Jo? Joanne? Because I
Oo.
referred you to use this.
Yes, sir. Oo.
Nakita ni mo? Oh, tanaw nang pwede ka participation ng word ng gawas. Asan itong table, Jo? Di naman ako kita. Uh-oh. Wala, muna to. Muna ba to? Di siya ba to? Ano ba yan? So class, another thing pala na i-remind ko kayo. So to extend participation, ito, sundan nyo itong mga sinasabi ditong iba. Kasi participation lahat yan dyan sa project na yan. Kani, pwede po ni. Kenneth, are you seeing yourselves? You can come up with indicators here. That one, any activity na major ginabuhat sa, di ba, sa Brigada Eskwela or PTCA, kani siya. And men, women. Napa ba si Kenneth? Nawala na si Kenneth?
Na, sir.
Ana ba? So, please. And I am asking someone, sa atong klase, kinsa pa'y na-realize niya karon nga pwede di ay gyud nara dire. Kindly take note, page 379. Napa isa ka table ani. You can adapt this. You can adapt this and then you will include in your objective, therefore, level of participation, i-drumbeat nyo doon, i-drumbeat nyo ang data. Ano bang ginasulti ko? I-drumbeat nyo. Meaning to say, isabay nyo siya. So, gets ninyo ni mo yung quantitative, no? Pero wala pa ni quantitative kay pwede man ni i-test of difference, di ba? Kay means man yun. So, pwede kayo. Kunya equal ni I'm sure equal ni 2020 ni 20 men 20 women ni siya. So pwede rin siyang i-test independent samples t-test, tama? Rafi or Kenneth?
Yes, sir.
Dili tamang independent samples t-test ni. So kaya kung nangutana mo sa kaunsaon ako ni pag mixed method, wala ko nagsulti sa inyo unsaon ninyo kay 20 persons man mo. Nagreklamo gani sa inyo ha gani nga unsa man ni among klase sir oy pati daw sayo na ang gipantudlo sa sa quantitative nga adi day sa inyo day sa masteral day. Anyway. So kaya isingit dito, ito yon isingit dili sa participation kani nga discussion dili nga data level of participation of parents in brigada eskwela intro present the dapat dayo na to qualitative data interpretation and later the table and then present another introductory transitioning just like that. Wala na intro ni present di na ko kita quantity sabay spelling quantitative data interpretation and later the table. And so ito yun palang sequence natin. Done. Okay, so kaning atong gibuhat dili ra pud ta manguha ani. Unsa ang pagbutang og conclusion kung unsa tong dominant theme diri sa qualitative data. Unya mo ni karon ang problema ani. Kung mixed method class, if mixed method ang imong ingon sa imong study, you better make sure if mixed method mixed method will be justified as such if and only if your quali and quanti results jive. Meaning, if your quality result points out that in terms of the level of participation, there's the disparity between participation of men and women, but if you're not interested in that particular respect, that's fine with me, that's fine with the whole scholarship. But if you are suspecting level of participation of parents compared to level of participation of teachers, and so therefore you would be requiring yourself, kasi you need to be ready. In this particular here, the researcher needs to be ready with equal number of parents and teachers, because I am sure teachers are always participating very well because it's their territory, home court advantage, but parents, they have a problem. So meaning to say, if that is the case, qualitatively, that can be derived, especially if the researcher is ready. Researcher, ready ka, lang mubutang og data dito sa kung unsa lang available pod nga naa ka na ready nimo as an objective, and then you are just filling in just like that your basket with the information and the data you need. You are not entering into conversations that are no longer forming part of your objective. For now, when you will be doing your dissertation, I will tell you, if I were your advisor, I tell you, go discover the world, go out and die and return to me when you're alive. When you resurrect, return to me. That's what I always do, because as researchers, it's so limiting to be told to just research this one. But this is a paper requirement. This is a paper requirement, but otherwise, this can also be done in dissertation projects. Most of like advisors I have worked with, and many other professionals I have worked with, they really tend to develop, let's say, such a concept of a research concept that really has a demarcation, where to go, what to go, when to do it. I mean the timeline. Okay. Um, What I'm telling you here is that mixed method will be justified as such if and only if your quantity and quality data results or quality results jibe, meaning to say it's pointing out the same result. Because if the quality result points out another different from what is being surveyed as a result of a survey, so it means to say you have to justify that this research, uh, if otherwise, just say this research is quality in this particular respect and quantity in this particular respect. That's it. And your conclusion will be separated on the basis of that. A conclusion from a qualitative inquiry and a conclusion from a quantitative inquiry. Did you get that? So that we can be clear. Wherever you go, that's true. Tell the world that is the case. And then, but if one of your siguro confusion here is that whether or not, it's a good question whether or not those that you have interviewed in the quali will also be surveyed during the quanti. In this particular respect, you should separate the quali from the quanti. But they are still parents. They are still teachers. So that there will be no soiling. Hindi mahugawan yung na-qualitative mo na data gathering. Another way na pwede pa rin silang ma-include ang na-quanti or na-quali sa quanti or na-quanti sa quali, I mean, in that sequence, in any particular order. If kung ang imong gibuhat na mixed method is sequential, kani convergence man nga design. Convergence, it means to say, magsugat na lang si quali o si quanti. Kani magsugat na lang si quali o si quanti dito sa tumoy. So, using deductive reasoning, so from original theory, and then data, and so therefore analysis, these two will meet at the end. And just like in my study, in most of my studies, because why? If you ask me why, na convergence paminting gibuhat igaskon. This may be a repetition, but you know what I have been. I mean, I was so debilitating ang effects sa ako, brang nadugmo ko sa ang effects sa ako when I was there and discovering things, and then little did I know na yun palang ginagawa na research ng mga modern worlds na or Western worlds in particular. They don't do research, any quantitative research, that they aren't sure. They are not sure that it's justified at a theoretical level. Meaning to say, there must be this, deep-seated theoretical underpinnings that are available, and that's why you are doing this research. And then if you are doing this research now, all you need to do is just to, pick up pieces of evidence that because this is the gap of your research, after reviewing the literature, you have identified what perhaps is a workable area, the best to work on, it's a workable area. And so therefore, more or less down the slippery slope, you now are knowledgeable, expecting of something that will unfold in that particular manner. Now, one example, if you suspect income is a matter of fact, it's going to affect based on causality or correlation, if income will affect grades of students. And so you need to really dig up the literature that income, the higher the income or the lowest the income, lower the income, it will identify grades or whether or not that is the case. And so meaning, at the end, you can establish that these factors affecting grades are really factors affecting grades. And so, during the defense, kung wala kang factor doon o may mga na tawag diyan, may mga insignificant na mga variables after, let's say, running a regression, kung regression imong gigamit, you better drop them because you are not prepared to report why the chaos, why the result, why naging insignificant. You are just to prepare yourself for the presentation that will really point out, look, this is what I found out. There is the strong evidence now that therefore income really is an indicator of grades. Just like that, as it was found out by several studies in the past, and this study now I'm doing is finding the same. So meaning to say, as PhD, we are reporting stories of the past. And I'm beginning to look at you because you will be our PhDs in the future. And so just like that, I hope you get a lesson from that insight that it's really important to not just be relying on serendipity, because after all, you might not be able to find your eureka moment. So, ito pala. If other, ano nga dito dapat isumpay ko? If otherwise ba? If otherwise, kung hindi mag-jive, then describe. Discuss na lang. Hindi describe. Discuss why quali and why and how mana ang sa bote ha quanti. So ito yung sinasabi na ito kasi mixed method pangalan na imong mixed method siya gyud ma-justify siya labi na mixed method nga dili kay Creswell sa tradisyon ni Janet McIntyre and Tess Bieber. I will give you the material. They really have justified, and Chris Tucker and Churchman, they have justified that mixed method, something like, especially if pertaining to human subjects, we need to be careful. And if we are justifying, let's say, issues here of, let's say, participation or whether they are able to participate, just make sure that participation is not like surveyed in a way that it's so difficult to understand. Like, good goddamn remembering now. When I did this to them, it took me one whole day to really figure out how to really make them understand in this particular respects what I'm referring to so that they will say they have high participation to very high. And remember at this time when I asked these items, their level of participation in this respect, I gave them the sheet and then I allowed them to study, and there are even pictures of this. Pictures of what is land development, farming, agriculture, livelihood, etc. So that more or less people can be enabled and remedied of their confusion. And when it comes to participation, I also have like, not really the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but a smiling face of a very happy to a unhappy face or frowning face. Just like that, even if they are not children, but we have to do it just like that. I mean, in my case, especially working with gathering data from the indigenous people. And I'm also referring to you, pointing my fingers to you now, because you will be gathering data from this particular source of data. So I hope I'm making myself clear with this discussion today. And I'm sure there's still this table, but I just got lost. Obviously, got lost. But there's definitely here this project management. Let me search project management. Maybe then I will be able to find it. Project. Ayaw niya. Pero I'm sure nandyan yan. Di ba, Joanne, may nakita isang table na hindi yun? Referring to planning, organizing, may ganun. Anyway, now class, your questions? This will be discussed. I will discuss this, and this will be available only. Hindi pa itong mag-lecture pa kasi ako the whole day. Then Sunday is my day, probably Monday. So ma-post ko ito ng Monday afternoon, the data analysis, para makatabang sa inyo sa data analysis. Yeah, someone has spoken. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Doc. Rafi, Doc.
Yeah, Raf.
Clarify lang ko, Doc, no, katong sa imong gidiscuss ka ganina, Doc. See, for example, Doc, ang amo ang bat-in sa mong research is mixed method me, and then come out na mo dok na ang amuang quantity versus the quali, kumbaga dili opposite ang iyang result. So ang among ibutang
Dili ka.
sa methodology dok quanti and quali ana.
Oh, kani siya.
Di-
Discuss why quali and
Oo.
quanti.
Okay po.
Chemics
Okay.
method is really championing the merging of the two. And
Okay.
usually, Creswell's convergence mixed methodology is our friend. I mean, us from the social anthropology. I am a social anthropology class. I study people. I don't study environment. I study environment vis-a-vis people. So, yun yung kwan. Kasi mataas ang caution, mataas ang, syempre, ethics requirements pertaining to this particular respect.
Thank you,
Hindi nyo
Doc.
pa lang talaga ako nakita, but hopefully, ito, yung sa new curriculum, I will really take you out if there will be this another chance that will be given to us. But definitely, the new students who will be under me next semester, we will go out to the community, we will gather data just like that, and we will have our classes, some of our classes outside the university complex, and we will do just like this. I will even do participatory rapid appraisals, and we even will visit schools and we'll engage with as many people, especially this PTCA, and we'll try to develop best practices in small communities because that's probably what I'm looking at as my life satisfaction eventually later in the future when I really get older. That's part of the plan, apart from writing books, and I will refrain from teaching students. All right, that's part of the plan. You're not asking me, but I'm just sharing that with you. This is so limiting, really, our chance being in this particular platform. But I am just hoping, even if you get frustrated in basically in moving around in what I made you do, I hope everything was clear. I was not on the side of making you do things that will make you ugly. I'm still praying to God, really, realistically speaking. I'm praying to God that all of you will be fine. That all of you, I know you will not, of course, like what you are doing. You will not like me and you will not like what you're doing, but I just hope that you will be experiencing what I have just experienced, what I have found, was able to found when I was there. And I think this is the platform. Not every one of us can be given the chance to go out. And I'm not saying that you are not capable of doing that. It's just that it's not your time. And it's just that we have a different context this time. And so here you are. So meaning to say, consider yourselves now as global, I mean PhD students. This is not really underscoring your limitation, our limitation. We do not have limitation. I am so proud of the university right now because our library is almost now comparable to the libraries I've used outside. Libraries that are in buildings, several buildings, and it's so huge. I mean, all these libraries, because they are museums too. There will soon be that one in Obrero, the one donated by Nograles, and it's, if you are familiar with the structure, it's going to be the structure nearest to the social hall. Particularly entrance ng social hall, yung makita dyan sa oval yan, na mataas na building dyan, yan yung library. Ilang floors yan, napakalaking floor area. And it's going to be just like that. It's going to be populated with books from everywhere. And I think kahit na nagnakaw tayo ng mga resources, ang pagnakaw natin ng resources from LiveGen and from the Sci-Hub also made, di ba, everything, our experience great. Hindi ba ninyo na-experience yon? Hindi ba niyo nakuha yon? Ang sense na di na ka mag-lisod og research. Siguro kung limtan ko ninyo, di ko ninyo makalimtan sa pag-simplify unsa akong pag-research. Dili ko niya dapat limtan diha. Kay kung malimtan pa ko ninyo diha, burag kuyugon mo sa kuang kalag ug matay ko. Kay mo man gyud akong gina-emphasize sa inyo unsa akong pag-simplify ninyo sa unsa inyong buhaton kanang research nga ginatawag. Kay akong pagtuog yun, o siyempre nakita ko na ako everywhere I go. Now I'm exposed to even more communities. I'm starting to earn, other territories, new territories now, in various capacities. But that is what really is my finding, that frustrating finding na yun nga. We cannot just do this because we have itong mga limitations natin. And ito pa, magpasalamat po ko sa labi na sa inyohan ng mga dili researcher o bisang pag-researcher papel dili kayo train sa inan na klase nga research nga gi-allow lang niyo inyong sarili nga i-justify na ako nga balo naglagot mo sa ako pag-justify na ako. Wala ko lain choice kung sa akong pag-justify. But I don't know. Can you be honest? Can you tell me, would this particular course be better kung magpa-report ko yung estudyante ka na akong question? Anybody? Mas magiging okay kaya ni kung ipa-report ko ni Joanne, yes.
Oh, na ako'y question, sir, bakay di ba nag-share ko the last time nga naka-interview ko with the help pod sa ako ang mga kauban og mga 25. So that's an in-depth na good, sir, as in one-on-one. So I'm thinking about dapat mag-FGD or mag-FGD or KII ko sa katong barangay officials baka and then other members of the community. Gitan-aw na ako, sir, bakay nag-go over na po ko adtong thematic analysis.
Jo, nag-survey ka 25?
Yes, sir, nag-survey ko niya. Apil na tong sa quali o quanti na to siya ng mga questions kaya ang huna-huna nako mo conduct gihapon ko pero gitan-aw nako, sir, ang progress ba sa ako ang data murag magpari-pareho ra gid siya na nagani ko murag horizonalization charing.
Horizonalization na tanaw-man na ka undangin na Jo.
O mo gani,
wala kay
sir,
time.
pwede dili na ko mo adto sa FGD because nakita na ko mo ra gid siya ang trending nga pag babae ka murag by culture ingani na gid ang imong role ibilin gyud kas balay.
So naka-informant interview nakabali?
Kuan siya, sir, gani in-depth to siya tanan farmers lang ang ako ang gi-interview.
Kunya naka-survey po ka as in nakay-survey na? Natay-na-survey na?
Oo,
quality
pareho
data.
tanan, sir. Quali ug quanti na to siya.
Di mo wala ka.
So pwede na to nga katuna lang di na ko mobalik. Salamat, sir.
Pero again, ang survey nimo katong ganinang pareha gipakita nako kani?
Oh, mama
plastaron ba?
Plastaron pud na ko nga ingad to.
Data gid siya, data gid siya, sorry. Sige ko panugabay. 5 4 3 2 1 gyapon na.
Oo, sir. Thank you kayo, sir. Thank you everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay. One last question lang ako sa mga kaya pang makahulat kadali. Para lang sa ako ang evaluate magigyapon ko ninyo. Pero ako ang evaluation is more of an honest assessment, dili about me but referring to kaya na ako ni ipa-report sa akong mga estudyante, labi na kamo teachers, like I would like to listen from anybody. Atong mga kauban ako na teachers. You need to be honest, help me. Kaysa kaning nga strategy, pwede po nang kapalpakan ani kung dili ka interesado, adyo ka naminaw eh. Tama ba, Jo?
Murag nga na gyud, sir, kay ako interested man ko kay murag linya sa ako ang work.
Ako ba no, biyaan lang no. So unsaon ako ni kulungon ako. Dili. Tama day kung face to face na Jo, wala sila lusot.
Dili na. Na ni ron. Sir, dili, sir, murag nakita lang nako, sir, no, kay daghan man gid mi mag-help man mi with one another, no. Lisod gid siya, sir, kung wala kay experience on mga ingana ba. Pero kung mao lang siguro ingana lang ang ako ang interest because part nature na sa ako ang job. I've been murag na-expose na ko og mga ingana ba for the last 20 years. But for somebody nga murag mukamang gid kung wala ko experience ani mo ingon gid ko nga mukamang gid ko, sir. So kana lang yun.
Dapat si Brian.
I think.
Doc.
Brian dong. Dex. Yes, go ahead, Dex.
Since you have been questioning a while ago regarding the method that you have shared to us now, siguro, Doc, if ever kung as educator po sir, as teacher po sa high school, it could be also mas effective siya, sir, once ikaw mismo muna ang mag-share not a reporting style, pero if ever na may reporting sa a mix of reporting, siguro, sir, the output, sir, para at least may balaan for evaluation and monitoring, sir.
Task kayo kong expectation sa inyo sa output, to be honest.
Answer, hindi ka naman kukunin mo og floor for talking regarding sa ato ang December 17 na conserver. Do we have to share, mag-send me before, sir, like for example 2 days before the sponsors among output bago mi
yeah, that's so ideal, Dex. Thank you for that. And then but we know ourselves, we are deadline beaters. many people are deadline beaters, so I cannot do otherwise. I will not kill them anyway. So Dex, if you can submit 2 days before, that's fine. Just like Joanne, kay idol ganis mo submit yun siya sa'yo. And also, kisa to Jo, katong kauban nimong taga, ano, taga Cebu. Salamat
Si
kay sa
Kokoy,
inyo
sir.
ang pagkasayo manabmit o si Kokoy. Nailahi magutaog ka ng work, ano, di ko na siya work ethic, work habit. Anaw na lang nato. Nailahi magita. Pero siguro karon na-develop ninyo kung, I mean, kung labi na sa old curriculum po, this is not to justify kung nahago mo karon nga semester, pasaylo ako ninyo. Pero mingon ko, kung kita akong ingon sa inyo, may reason ninyo. Joke lang. Pero moto, di man ako ma-change ang kani nga sulod ani nga content ani nga curriculum na para lang musuit sa need sa old curriculum. And dili po ko na gyud pod na tao nga mo bend ko sa level nga bro di na gyud mao. Di kay ko mo bend sa undergrad. Mo ni katawanan karon. Kabalo ba mo nga motulo og undergrad inani gyapon? And believe me, ang akong mga undergrad ambot mas may pagmanguha na lang mo daag kuan sa kuwag kung gusto ninyong imong staff in the future, panguha mo staff gikan sa undergrad namo. Pero hambog na. Kasi kilaw-kilaw na inyo ang mga research da, tumoy-tumoy sa inyong mga papel. That's what we are producing in the college right now. This quality of students. Yes, wala may kalainan tod sa inyo haog sila. Pero mas kuyaw sila mo kung sa ilang time. Siyempre, naa sila mo rin ilang pukso pa sila yung mga work. Christine, yes, you are raising your hand.
Sir, katong sa imong question, sir ba? Sige, first,
Yes,
sir,
Christine.
okay lang, sir, nga mag-reporting sila, sir, but to it nga kanang makabalo sa sila sa ground para naa silang familiarization kay dili man gud lalim
Makabalo sila sa tugang?
Oo, kabalo sila sa
Makabalo
ground.
sa?
Kumbaga, sir, naa sila outreach program sa ba ano sa nimo sila sir, immerse sila sa ground, sa field, then ipa-observe what is the ground all about para naa sila understanding, para maka-come out sila sa gusto nimo nga
Christine, kana
ipangayo
gani
sa
nga,
ilaha.
kana na way, kay mo na akong ginabuhat sa undergrad. Kana gani na ang respect kasi magiging social scientist yun sila eh, di ba? Social
Opo.
research na nila. So, dapat na sa project management karon bisag kanina nag-pandemic o inani nga napay mga restrictions, ginadala na ko sila dito day. Unya, dayon inani, pero wag gyapon sila reporting. Di gyapon. Ako gyud gikan pa sa sugod tong una, di jud ko magpa-report og student. Ako'y makulbaan.
Sir, dili man
Yes.
good sir nga kanang in just one glance or one ocular visit, they will familiarize the area, they will no sir, mura na siya ano sir ba kanang hinay-hinay lang sir nga
Community
ma-understand
immersion.
gid nila sir
Pero
kay kung kaisa
sa
lang nimo
inyong
sila,
kaso,
sir,
Christine,
dili
sa
siya.
inyong kaso kay kuan sa Christine, tama, correct me if I'm wrong ha. Sa inyo ha kay adults man unya experience naman mga technical persons na mo. Mura gina-assume naman gud na nga naadto na gyud mo didto like teachers, may nana bitaw, ikaw social worker. So nana mo ana nga mga wealth of
Yes.
experiences. So,
Opo. But
pero ang katong
sa
mga tama ka
students
kanang mga ang to interview
undergrads,
ba no?
opo, kailangan gyud siya sir nga kanang ipaila-ila gyud sila dito sa ground kay wala sir wala gyud na sila no yung pa wala na sila ni kanang knowledge sa ang kuan kung magsikitag discuss and then wala gani sila picture out sa gawas.
Pero in fairness, Christine, ang design sa curriculum sa public ad o community development o anthropology sa USEP, diya sa mental campus kay bago na sila mahatod ko sa kuang classroom, major man ko, sa mga research man ko. Bago na sila masud sa kuang classroom, nakaagi na sila project management, organizing, community organizing. Out na sila. Kabalo na mag-community mapping.
Okay.
Pero kaning pandemic mo gyud nakaingon nga artificial gyud sila kay wala man sila nag-community mapping, wala man sila ngadto. Oo.
Ito
Pero pug
sir.
kamo ba?
Opo.
Atong una gyud nag-handle ko ginani, wa pa gyud di pa gyud mang-gather og data gani. Nag-online ethnography pa gyud kay bawal gyud man to community.
Ako sir kay nag-online ano gyud ko sir nag-community ano jud ko sa akong thesis kay quali man ko.
Syempre kay kuan ka. Kuan man ka social work man ta. Okay, thanks Christine. Okay, so siguro at this juncture we can call it off. Pero kung napay lang yung magstorya, who would like to speak? Napa ba? Wala na? Wala naman siguro, no? class, all the best. I mean, our relationship has not ended with just the conclusion of this class. But definitely, I will miss you in terms of our interaction in the class. And then I hope, I mean, possibilities endless. We can still coordinate. We can work on a project in the future. Yes, Jonathan. Hindi pa pala. Meron pang kon si Jonathan. Yes, Doc.
Sorry, Doc. Doc, for the
No worries.
exam next week na 1 hour, ano po dali namin,
1
Doc?
hour lang
Do you
talaga.
prefer-
Speed. Kindly study. And then, you
Yes,
just need to
long band
discuss,
paper ba, Doc,
illustrate.
dali namin? Or yellow
Ano
paper
daw?
lang?
Ay, hindi
Long
siya yellow,
band
hindi
paper?
siya yellow pad. Ano siya? Band paper siya, no lines.
Okay, Doc.
Oh, no lines siya, no lines. Mag-isi tayo ng yellow paper. Di ko kagunit ng yellow paper, Jo. Mag-isi.
Okay, Doc. Will I bring long
Alright.
band paper na, Doc?
No, ako na bahala. Ilibre ko na. Libre, nanatan ito, printed na na.
Sige, Doc.
Waon na ako na bali from a person nga naka-code na siya. Yeah, you will be given your paper and then you're not writing anything, and then it will be given by someone on the paper or the paper. Para walay pangalan. Or maybe I will use an extra sheet. Pwede naman po extra sheet nga laksion tong first page. Possible pa kaya na ron kay ang yung penmanship, umukay lang sa mga penmanship. So please pass my exam. Do not study any other material, study just the material na atong na-cover lang so far. Okay, class? And all the best. Good luck. Bye now. See you next week.
Bye, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Bye, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.